Today, I want to tell you another fascinating story. A story about something we all think we understand. Laws. What is a law, really? Sure, everyone knows the word. But what I want to talk about today is something deeper, something we never really question. Our species, according to scientists, appeared a very long time ago. About 10,000 years ago, groups of humans began forming tribes, then building small settlements, villages, and eventually cities. Those cities became nations, and by the 19th century, we had the modern concept of a nation-state. Now, I'm not speaking here like a law school professor. I'm trying to make this simple because we're all people. We all prefer simplicity. So let me ask you something. If you believe the trained experts, they'll tell you that even 2,000 years ago, there were already entire cities filled with thousands of people living behind walls or natural barriers with their own systems and rules. Now imagine this. Thousands of independent individuals, all living in one place. That means thousands of habits, customs, and personal desires. Some people liked playing flutes all night, others had completely different priorities.
So what does that lead to? It means rules were necessary. Some kind of laws had to exist to regulate behavior. No surprise there, right? Where there's society, there are rules. That sounds logical. But what if I told you that what we call history might not be the whole truth? See, most people believe history is a serious science. I used to think that too. But then new facts started coming to light. And when new facts appear, the story we call history begins to look more like a belief system than a science. I got curious. How exactly did laws appear? So I typed that question into Google.
And here's the kind of answer I got. Laws appeared sometime in the 2nd millennium BC, starting with the first written code of laws in Babylon. Later, in 529 AD, the Roman Emperor Justinian created a new legal code. And then in the 10th century, people in Italy started studying Roman law again. From there, it spread throughout Europe. Sounds neat and tidy, right? All well organized, told by people who are professionally trained to know these things. They say that 3,000 years ago, a complete legal code already existed. Of course, the original documents didn't survive. But no one seems bothered by that. What matters, they say, is that we believe there was a legal code 3,000 years ago. But here's the thing. That version of history, the one they tell us, it's not meant for everyone. It's a story crafted for everyday people, for folks like you and me. Even for law students, it's simplified. There's another version. I'll get to that later. But first, I want to talk about the version they feed us. The idea that laws were created thousands of years ago. I believed that version. Until just yesterday. And as usual, I realized I was sold a myth. This thousands of years of legal history is just like everything else we're told. A carefully crafted illusion. To understand why, I started reading a legal article. Yes, even though it was on a law website. It was posted by a guy who knows the system well. Turns out, Roman law was rediscovered in Italy during the 10th century, and that's when it finally started spreading across Europe. Bits and pieces of those laws were later used by Napoleon in his famous Civil Code in 1804. That document became the blueprint for most of Europe's and Latin America's legal systems. Let that sink in. Justinian published a code in 529 AD, but it took 600 years before anyone even began to study it again. From 529 to the year 1000 nothing. And that's not speculation, that's written plainly in academic sources. Even when they say Roman law was studied in the 10th century, they don't mean it was used. They were just analyzing it like philosophy. Actual implementation? That only began in the 1800s thanks to Napoleon. So if that's when legal systems began to truly take shape, what about before then? The truth is, before the 10th century, there was no such concept as law in the way we understand it. There was only customary law. Traditions passed down, ways of doing things. Before that, human society didn't follow written rules. They followed rituals, community expectations, and oral customs. That's not hidden knowledge. It's taught in law schools. Ask any graduate of a legal program, and they'll tell you about customary law, how it shaped our early legal systems, and how much of our modern courts are built on those foundations. Even in places like Imperial Russia, they didn't have formal laws. They followed imperial decrees, like executive orders. The first comprehensive legal code there was published in 1832. So let's be honest. The idea that humans have had laws for thousands of years? It's a myth. Before the 10th century, The entire human world was organized through customs, not codes. And that tells us something big. Our modern civilization with its laws, rights, and legal protections is very young. It's only just forming. We didn't even begin to seriously codify laws until the 1800s. And some of the things we take for granted today, like children's rights, civil protections, and human rights, only emerged in the late 19th century.
Now think about this. Historians can map out Europe's timeline down to the day, but the concept of a civil code, a formal book of enforceable laws, it didn't exist before the 10th century. So how did the world work before that? That's a whole mystery in itself. Apparently, humanity was rebooted in the 10th century. That's when we relearned how to make strong bricks. We reinvented paper. In the 19th century, we finally replaced wagons with trains. Chemistry and physics as sciences, brand new. The so-called ancient texts from Greek philosophers, they all conveniently appear in the 10th century.
Same with the Bible, the Torah, and even Sanskrit. All of that, the entire foundation of our culture, pops up in 1 century. Before the 10th century, human life was governed by nothing but customs. And here's the crazy part. When we talk about customs, we don't mean wild tribes. We're talking about people as recent as the 15th century, still living by unwritten rules. And these ancient customs? They're still alive today, still used in the British legal system, for example. So next time someone tells you, we've had laws for thousands of years, ask them this. Where were they?